everyone, and welcome to the July 2017 update of the Power BI desktop. We have lots of exciting features to show you today, most of them being reporting features. We are very excited to announce that our new table and matrix visuals are now generally available. What this means is now anytime you create a new table or matrix in your reports, you automatically get to use all the great features we've now added to the table and matrix. The new layout functionality, all the word wrapping that we have, cross-highlighting, all the new formatting features. It's now just generally available for you to use. When you click on the table and matrix icon, that is now our new versions of those visuals. For all of your old table and matrix visuals, they will continue to remain the same. We don't want to force people to upgrade if they like the way their current table and matrix look and they don't want to mess with all their old reports. But now, going forward, any new visuals you make will be the new versions. And of course, if you want to upgrade your old ones to this new layout now that it's generally available, you can just do that by selecting the old layout table or matrix and clicking on the icon again. That will automatically convert it to the new layout. So let me give you an overview of these new visuals in case you haven't seen them yet. So if I want to start using the new table and matrix, all I have to do is click on the icons. You'll notice that they're still in the same place they were during the preview period, but now the tooltip no longer has the preview moniker behind it, and you no longer see the table and matrix icons up where they used to be for the old versions. We've removed those. So I'm going to pick the matrix option, and I'm going to add category and subcategory to the rows and sales amount to the values. And now, in case you haven't been keeping up with the visuals while they're in preview, what happens whenever you have a hierarchy is that you can drill using the same drill buttons we have on charts into the various fields of the hierarchy. So I can either choose to drill into one specific category and go back up, or I can choose to expand down for each of them and see all of the different subcategories for each category. And as you'll see, in this case, we have the nice stepped layout that you may be used to with pivot tables. And of course, we do have the other drill option that just goes to the next level without keeping the higher level visible on the chart. What's new in this release of the desktop is that if you also have a hierarchy on your columns, so for example, if I put class on the columns and I put sales size there as well, my drill icons have this extra option here called drill on, and I can pick if I want to drill on my rows or if I want to drill on my columns, and whichever I pick here is what the buttons will affect. Of course, I can still use the right click menu, choosing to drill down to specifically what I right clicked on, or do the expanding and show next level as well. You'll notice that the default layout of the matrix is a little bit different than it was in the older matrix. We have some color automatically that comes from the theme. We have banded rows. We have the step layout. And what we've done is that we've now made this the new default for all matrices. You'll see a new layout for table as well that's very similar. We've gotten a lot of feedback from the community in terms of what they like to see by default on their tables and matrix. And we've also tried to look at the best practices in the industry for this as well. And all of that went into picking out what this new default layout looks like. As mentioned, this visual also has word wrap. We've had word wrap since the early days of this preview, but with this release, we also respect new lines. So if you have written a measure that had a new line character in it, we would respect that in the word wrapping so that you can now pick where new lines occur. But of course, if you don't do that, word wrapping will look nice as well with the auto word wrapping that we do. And so it's now a lot easier to make a very compact view of the matrix. One of the most exciting features for this visual, if you haven't been keeping up with the preview, is that you can use it for cross-highlighting as well. So I'm going to very quickly create a column chart just to demonstrate cross-highlighting. So I'm going to make a column chart, and I'm going to put color on the axis and freight as the value. And you'll see as I cross-highlight either on, say, a header or on an individual cell, it cross-highlights the rest of the charts on my report. We're choosing to GA the new table and matrix visuals at this point because we feel like they are very powerful visuals now. They're significantly better than our old versions, and we really want everyone to start using them. But that doesn't mean that we're going to stop improving them. We are going to continue to iterate and add even more features to the table and matrix going forward. The next feature on our list is being able to rename fields in a visual. So you've already been, for the history of Power BI, been able to double-click on a field in the field list and rename it for your entire model. But now we're letting you alias that field. So now that means that you can rename it for a very specific visual. This is very useful if, for example, you need to make the name a little bit more compact for a table header, or if you're doing show value as and the name it generates, we auto-generate for you, is a little bit too long or doesn't make sense to your users, you can rename it right there. Or if you don't actually have access to the model, so you are live connecting and you want to be able to just rename it for your individual charts, you're able to do this using the renaming the fields in the visual itself. So let me show you how to do that. It's obviously really easy to do, so let me just remove from the columns here and just look at sales amount. So if I wanted to rename this, you can see it doesn't have a space, and I really want to make it a little more friendly, I can just double click and put a space, and now automatically in my chart it has the space in it, but in the field list still no space. And of course I can type whatever I want. So for example, I could specify in my table that this is in US dollars, hit enter, name automatically renames right there. And I'll see it anytime that there's a tooltip, I automatically see that. You can also see that it was updated in the visual level filters. So anywhere that field is used within the chart, the name automatically follows it. If you ever need a reminder of what the original field was called, you can hover over it and it will tell you exactly what field from your model is being used inside the chart. The next update is one that we are very excited about. Now that the custom visuals have moved into the Office store, we have an integration point directly from the desktop to the Office store for custom visuals. So this means you no longer have to go and remember what was the name of the website for the custom visuals, where do I go? You'll end up doing a search for it, find the visual you want, download it, then import it, go back to the desktop to import it. That whole long process, no longer needed. You can go directly from the desktop, see what custom visual you want, click an add button, and it automatically be added to your report. So let me show you that. You see these options in the ribbon called From Store and From File. From File will be the same way you used to. So if you already had some previously downloaded custom visuals, or you've made your own custom visual, you can pull that in from the file the same way you have before. But this From Store option will automatically pull up the Office store in a dialog. And from here, you'll see a bunch of suggested custom visuals and a bunch of different filters you can apply. So you can look at just KPIs or just maps or all of them. You can also search. So I can search for word cloud, for example, and it will filter down to just the visuals that are related to the word I searched for. And once I find what I'm interested in, so for example, if I'm interested in the word cloud, which is a very fun visual, I can click it and I can see more information about it. I can see pictures of it, a description. I can read reviews of the visual as well, which can help me decide if this custom visual is good enough for the report I'm trying to make. And once I've decided I like it, I can click the add button and it will automatically import the custom visual for me into my report, and I'll start seeing the icon in the visuals pane. So I can just go ahead and add that word cloud to my report, and let's say I wanted to see colors here. And I want that based off of my sales amount. And now automatically I have a nice word cloud of all the different colors that I can click on and start cross-highlighting. And so that was a way less steps than it used to be able to import a custom visual. So we're hoping this will make it a lot easier for you to use custom visuals and find interesting custom visuals you want to start integrating into your report. Another great feature we're adding this month is the relative date filters. So we've had a relative date slicer for a couple of months now that lets you specify last 3 months, last 30 days, and as your data refreshes, it continues to just use the relative date. So you'll always see the last 30 days if that's what you set. We now have that same powerful functionality in the filter cards as well. So if I go back to my report, and I add order date into the page level filters. Of course, it starts with the basic filter, and I can switch to either advanced, or I can switch over to this new option called relative date filtering. And then in here, this UI is very similar to the UI you've seen in the relative date slicer. You can do things like is in the last, in this, or is in the next, whatever you set. And you pick the number, so let's say 3. And then I can pick days, weeks, calendar weeks, months, and years. So I'm going to go with the last 3 calendar years, and I can apply that filter, and automatically all of my charts on this page are now filtered, and as my data refreshes, that will continue to update. And you can see on the filter card, we do have a restatement, so you can see exactly what are we filtering by, and that will continue to update every day I come and look at my report. Next up, we have a responsive layout for visuals. This is a preview feature that applies currently to Cartesian charts, so bar charts, line charts, charts like that. And what this means is that as your visual grows smaller, it will start to adapt to the size it is to show the most relevant information. So this is really powerful if you have a lot of your users looking on their phones, so they're seeing a smaller visual than normal. You want to really optimize in those cases for the data to make sure that the data, which is the important bit, is always shown. And so if I say I took this chart, and in the formatting pane under the general card is where you'll find the option. We have this preview for responsive, and when you turn it on, nothing happens at this size because this size is big enough to show all of the things I wanted to show on my chart. But as I make it smaller, we start making smart decisions. So I lose the axis and the X first vertically, and then if I make it small enough, it will lose the axis for the Y-axis as well. And as I just resize my visual, it tries to be smart on what it keeps and what it gets rid of. And if you go small enough, it will be purely just the data itself, so very similar to the mini charts a lot of times people have for tracking things on their phone. And of course, you still get the tooltip, so even though you can't actually see the axis, you still can, through hovering, get the relevant information. And if you go small enough, we actually turn it into an icon. And when you click on the icon on your phone, this will actually pop it out into in focus mode. It won't do this in the desktop, but on a phone, you'll have a way to pop that out into an in focus mode view. And so if you are using any kind of layout where you're going to end up with some smaller charts, this is a great way that you don't have to worry about these settings. You can just turn it on, and anytime the chart gets small, it will just automatically adapt for you. The next feature we have on our list is a new option for the waterfall chart. We have this new bucket in our field wheel called Breakdown. And what this lets you do is more easily find what values are causing the biggest difference between the different bars in your waterfall chart. So, for example, if you have a chart showing your sales for 2014 and 2015, and you're curious which of your countries makes the biggest difference between the sales, you can drop country into this breakdown bucket, and we will pick out what fields either negative or positively influenced the difference the most. And you'll be able to see that in the waterfall chart and see what the percent change was between those 2 years. So let me show you that. I'm going to create a waterfall chart and let's put order date on the category and limit that down to years, and put sales amount on the y-axis. And so you can see right now there's just 2014 and 2015 on this waterfall chart. And now I want to know if there's one country that's made the biggest influence between those 2 years. So I'm going to grab my country field and I'm going to drop it in this new breakdown bucket. And automatically you can see between these 2 years my sales went down, but also you can see mostly the sales that went down were in the United States. So you can see that the percent change based off of the tooltip was just over a 30% drop in sales between those 2 years. And of course they do update as you cross highlight. So as you click different fields, you can see, for example, if I go to camcorders, for the most part everything went down, but France, in terms of my countries of sales, actually did go up. What we do by default is we pick out the top 5 influencers and group everything else into this other bucket, but you can adjust that. So by going into the formatting pane and going to the breakdown card, you'll see here an option for maximum number of breakdowns, and right now it's 5, but if I go down to 2, you can see I only see my two most influential countries, and everything else is grouped into this other bucket. And so this chart really helps me find the reasons for increases and decreases inside my waterfall chart. It's really powerful for analysis in your reports. The last section of reporting features I want to talk about is all around custom visuals. Now that the custom visuals are integrated directly into the desktop, we thought it would be good if every month we pick out a couple of the most interesting new options that's been added to the store for custom visuals and talk through them and kind of give you an idea of what's happening in the store and maybe inspire you to explore yourself or use one of these visuals. So I have 3 I wanted to walk through today: a drill down choropleth, drill down cartogram, and drill down player. So if I go down to my workbook for the choropleth, you'll see what this is. It's very similar to the preview shape map visual we have. It's your own map. It's your own map file that you're using here. But in addition, instead of just having limited to one map file, you can, in the formatting pane, set up a hierarchy. So you can set a different map for each level and then add data in the location field in a hierarchy and move between the levels. So the first map in this example is state level, but I can use the drill option to go down to my county level, and you can see you can get a lot more fine-grained. And so this drilling functionality for your shape files is really powerful. You're able to drill up and down, add in multiple levels of hierarchy, and really get refined data here. If instead of having the shading based off of a value, you still like the power of this drilling and having your own custom map files to use, but you really want the bubbles, a similar experience to the bubbles we have on our default Power BI maps. That is where the drill down cartogram is good. Same concept. You have multiple levels of map files and values in your chart, but instead of having the whole shape being filled with colors, you can you can have a bunch of different dots, and the size of the dot is based off of a measure, and you can either color it based off of a measure or color it based off a different category. And again, you can choose to drill down to different levels. And so this map is between these two maps, you can get really powerful in terms of what data you want to show. The last drill down chart I wanted to show in terms of custom visuals this month is called the drill down player. And so what this visual is you add a category or multiple, because it does support drill. You add a category, and when you can choose to filter or cross highlight your charts based off of each value in that category. So I can hit play, and it will automatically move through each of those based off a timer that you can configure and start filtering those charts down. And you can pause and stop or skip if you want. And you can just, it makes it really easy to just automatically just do a bunch of analysis and play through it. So for example, you can, on this page, when I hit play, you can see all the charts moving and interacting without me having to do anything at all. And it's a really fun visual as well, because it causes all of your charts to move. It's kind of similar, you could use it kind of similarly to similar to like a play axis in a bubble chart. As I mentioned, this visual does support drill, so you can put multiple categories on here and play through one, and then using the drill option, switch to the other and then play through that option as well. It's also, you could use this in combination with our visual interactions, edit interactions button and the ribbon, and choose if you want all the other visuals to be filtered or cross-highlighted. It's really powerful. So that's it for reporting features. Moving on to the analytics and modeling section. We have 2 new quick measures to add to our growing list this month, and these are very exciting quick measures for us because they actually came from the community. In community.powerbi.com, there is a forum that lets you, a gallery that lets you submit different examples of quick measures that you'd like to see added. Other people can take that DAX and use it, but more excitingly, we can use those as a starting point to integrate those features in. So both star rating and concatenated list of values were community submitted, and we took that, we got it ready to submit into our code, and we've actually shipped those out to you to use. And so I'm going to show you both of those options. So I'm going to go and I'm going to pick the matrix here, and I'm going to, for sales amount, open up the quick measures gallery. And in here, in our long list of measure options we have, there's this new text section. And the first one in here is star rating. This measure was suggested by Chris Webb, and what it does is you can pick the number of stars you want to see and what the lowest and highest value is for those stars, and we will automatically create for you the number of stars. You'll see them filled in. So there'll be, if it's 3 stars, you'll see 5 stars total, 2 hollow, and 3 filled. So I'm going to leave 0 as the lowest, and then for the highest, I'm going to put, let's go with 1,000,000. You want to hit OK. It will automatically generate for me this new quick measure, and you can see the DAX for it here. And it will also, since I triggered this from a chart, automatically add it to that chart. And now you can see for each of my different subcategories, you can see sales based off of the stars. So Bluetooth headphones, only 1 star, not so hot. Whereas coffee machines, everyone loves coffee, especially here in Seattle, that has 5 stars. And so it's a really quick, easy way to just visually see the differences between the different values. And of course, since it is just a DAX calculation, you can go in and you can change the number of stars you want to see, make an adjustment to what should be considered the max or min value, and adjust the DAX however you want. So the other quick measure we have is also a text one. So this time I'm going to go over to, let's say, the manufacturer field. And from here, I'm going to launch the Quick Measures Gallery. And I'm going to pick the last option on our list, Concatenated List of Values. And in here, it automatically filled it in with manufacturer because that's what I picked from. And you pick how many of those strings you want to be concatenated together before we append it with an etc. And so this is a great way to just, if you need to show, for example, I'm going to put this one in my matrix. If you need to show a couple of different text fields, this is a really great way to do that. And this one was suggested to us in the community by Devin Knight. And when I hit OK, it will automatically create for me the quick measure, which again, as I said, you can choose to edit. I'm going to go ahead and add this to my values bucket. And you can see that for each of the different rows, I see each of the different manufacturers that produce that kind of product separated by a comma. And if I get one that's been made, for example, laptops that's been made by a bunch of different manufacturers, after 3, it finishes off with an etc. And of course, this is again just stacks, so I can go in there and I can make modifications to it. For example, my manufacturers, some of them actually have commas in their names, so that can be kind of confusing. So I'm going to replace all the commas with semicolons instead. And when I hit enter, you automatically see the semicolons between them now instead. These quick measures are very fun because they start making it really powerful for you to use text in your tables and matrix in very interesting ways. So make sure to give them a try, and maybe they'll inspire you to use your own different text fields as well. The second feature in this category is that we are now making bidirectional cross-filtering for direct query generally available. So for import, bidirectional cross-filtering has been GA for quite a while now, but you still had to turn on a preview switch if you wanted to use it for direct query. That is no longer the case. It's now just there for you to start using. So make sure to, if you haven't started using that now and it makes sense for your model, make sure to start trying that out. In the data connectivity section, we are very happy to make the Snowflake connector generally available as well. So now you no longer see the beta tag next to it. It's ready to use, and we really thank you for all of the good feedback you gave us during the preview and beta phase for this feature. And of course, like all of our features, we do continue to make it better. So don't worry, we're not going to stop iterating on it just because it's now generally available. The last feature on my list for the July update is another enhancement to our Add Column from Examples feature. This is the really powerful feature we released a couple of months back that lets you, in the query editor, create new columns just by typing in for a couple of examples of what you want the column to look like, and it will automatically figure out what transformations needed to be applied and apply them to the entire column. It's really cool, and every month we're adding more improvements to it. This month we're added even more transformations for number and date, time zone data types. And so make sure to, if you continue to try this out, give us suggestions for what else you want to see added. We'll make sure to integrate that in as soon as we can. So that's all the features we have for this month. Make sure to download the latest version of the desktop and give all these features a try, and let us know if you have any questions or any feedback on what you would like to see in a future update to the desktop.